Oh hi, how's it going? Today we are going to be assembling the bottom end of this K24 over here. I wanted to just go over what we have so far. So we'll start with this stock oil pump. This is one that you can use, it's okay to use, but it really limits you on revving out high anymore past 8 grand. It kind of prevents you from doing so because they're so big and bulky. So we upgraded to the OE Type S RSX oil pump, and this is gonna need a little bit of work done to it, a little bit of modification to make it work on the K24.
What is so special about this crank?
Alright, so this is just an OE crank. Resurfaced, micro-polished, and the crank has been completely knife-edged. This is gonna help getting them max RPMs very quickly.
And how does it do that?
So by doing this, by knife edging it, just kind of removes weight on the, I guess, opposing side to the rod, giving it less rotating mass.
Okay, I see. And also less resistance through the oil. That's gonna be a pretty saucy crankshaft.
It looks pretty nasty.
What else we have today?
Moving on to that, I guess since we're on the crank, this is just an OE crank gear, or crank sprocket. Rear main seal, another OEM part.
What is this massive oil pan we have here?
It's a Moroso oil pan, baffled. It's got trap doors all up in here. I don't know if you can get those. And that'll help prevent the pump from starving itself out. Keeping oil contained just in this little area rather than all over the pan.
Right around this wicked pump.
And then on the face of it, there are 2 -10 fittings. One I'm going to use for oil temp, and the other will be for the turbo return line.
Nice.
And of course, the other goodies, some Royal Purple assembly lube. These are ARP main studs. They say they're for an RSX 2.0, but they work on a 2.4 as well. These are main bearings and rod bearings. And the thrust washer. This is an Australian part there, baby.
Yeah, buddy.
Get some Aussie in there.
A little Australian.
So now we're going to the fun stuff, the inside. Oh, Justin, if you ever watch this video, I don't know what these came from, but I picked my stuff up from your machine shop, and
Those were in there.
these are in here.
And they're color coordinated for some special reason. Let us know what that's all about.
So these are just a standard size 87 millimeter Wiseco piston. I went low comp. They are pretty snazzy looking.
Oh yeah, dude.
And this comes obviously with the wrist pins, both compression rings, the oil rings.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. Those are balanced within 1 gram, correct?
Yes, that is what Wiseco claims online.
Okay, so we were curious to see where these pistons fell as far as weight, and Wiseco claims that these are balanced within 1 gram of each other. So we're going to weigh this piston. They've written on here that it is 315 grams. So we're gonna put this to the test.
See if they are on point.
See if they're on point. So it's reading 315.2, which is pretty close. I mean, 0.2 of a gram is next to like the weight of a hair or something. So I would say that Wiseco has a pretty good quality control, you know?
Yeah.
So to weigh each piston is probably a pretty time-consuming endeavor. Skunk 2, what's Skunk 2?
It is the 2nd generation of smelly skunks.
Oh, dude, so they're gonna have stripes on them?
Yeah, I believe so. Maybe that's what the H-beam design is. This is the stripe of skunk too.
Right. No, I think most H-beams have that.
No, these are different, man.
Okay, so
These are Skunk 2 Alpha rods. They're not the highest end. The next level up are the Skunk 2 Ultras.
it looks like they've weighed these, Andrew.
I do believe so. 436. Let's see if that is correct. Okay, the scale's zeroed out.
If we can balance it on there. 435. So he
0.8.
rounded up 0.2, which is what you would do. So that looks pretty much on point.
Awesome. So these are I bought these because at the time I was going to run 500 horsepower, and that changed. Of course, it always changes, right? But the specs on these say that they are rated up to 900 horsepower, and they didn't specify if it were 900 to the flywheel or 900 to the wheels. I just want to be safe and say that that's to the flywheel, so I would assume that I could run 700 out of them. They say that the difference between engine horsepower and wheel horsepower is about 20%. So 20% of the claimed 900 was right around 700 or 750 or something like that. So they'll be close to maxed out. So here soon I'll probably be upgrading to the Skunk 2 Ultras. But for now, I think they're gonna do great. They came with the set of ARP 2000.
Those are nice too.
Yeah.
So this looks like some pretty custom work here. What's going on with this guy?
Yeah, it's a factory block, factory sleeves, factory fire rings. No, okay, so Justin, I gotta give you a huge shout out to the guys at Northwest. Again, they did this machine work for it. These are LA sleeves. This is a standard bore, 87 millimeter. So it's not upgraded size-wise in any way. I was hoping that would bring me some more reliability. Stock 87 millimeter LA sleeves. They were pressed in by 10 tons. That blew my mind. I didn't think that they'd be pressed in that hard.
Wow.
And these fire rings here, these little copper rings are pretty incredible. This is basically going to, for those of you who don't know what fire rings are, this basically eliminates the use of a head gasket. You still would use one, but this now seals off the cylinders completely with metal to metal contact. There's no gasket in between.
Alright, so we have to modify this, notch it, so it'll fit over this. This protrudes a little bit more than the original pump. So what we're going to do is set this into place in front of that so we can mark where we need to trim. And then we're going to measure the length of this stud. Or what are these things? Dowel pins.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll give us the amount we need to trim off. And then it'll fit flush. So we'll remove just a little bit more than we have to. And on this piece here, we might have to kind of buzz this down a little too.
And I think that would be okay.
Yeah.
I would assume we're gonna have to do that.
So I just need to measure these dowels, and then we can mark it up, and we can grind it away.
All right, so now we are going to cover up the oil pump, cut out that notch so that it can fit correctly on the bottom of the block. Let's get to it. Well, we got her to fit, and I didn't remove any mounting points, which is great. And this wasn't something that I had to do. I didn't have to upgrade to this oil pump. I'm just trying to take all safety precautions to make this thing reliable as well as powerful. I know those words don't really go together, but I'm just trying to make it as safe and reliable as I can. There's probably people out there who have used the stock big oil pump and, you know, ran it out to 8, 9, maybe 10,000 RPM. But I've just heard the horror stories and I don't even want to go down that road, you know? I'd rather not. If I can avoid it, I will. So now what we're gonna be doing is tapping this hole right here. This is a port for the OE oil pump. And if you don't block this off, you will be running, you know, 30 PSI or less of oil pressure, which is a no-no. So you have to block this off. I'm sure you guys that have done a Type S oil pump swap, you guys already know this, but for the people who don't, it's never a bad idea to repeat important procedures that need to be done.
Okay, so we're gonna do an M8, which is a 1.25 thread pitch. This one here is a little bit short, so we're going to do it in an M8 to begin with, and we'll just get a longer one tomorrow.
These bolt holes will no longer be used.
Okay, so you could do a 10, but that's a lot of material to remove, so I'm just gonna do an 8. I think that would be fine.
Yeah, we'll just get a longer bolt and get it sucked down in there.
I like to get it kind of started a thread or two.
Make sure it's setting in.
Yeah, and then once it starts to cut, back it out so you don't just mar up your threads with debris.
Oh, gotcha. Get it started, back it up, and then go at it again.
Yep. Okay, so that's about 2 threads. Back it up a little bit. I always like lubing, you know, it definitely helps, keeps your tool sharp and helps it clean. Yeah, and I like to clean them after each use, if you can, with like air. I like air because if you strip the oil from them, then they can rust. And there it is. It helps having new, sharp, nice quality bits too. I've used cheap bits and broke them off in there before, without you know, going too fast, being in a hurry, no lube.
Yeah, no lube.
All the wrong things. So
All right, let's clean this bad boy out.
sounds good.
2-3 days it's gonna sit, and it's cold, it's humid.
We don't want any rust, so once we go to assemble this, we'll brake clean everything, wipe it down again, blow it off with air, and then
That's the last thing you would want, though, is some surface rust where your bearings are gonna sit.
we don't want no pitting of any sort. So
We'll do this to the underside of the block here too as well.
yeah, so this was a oil restrictor that was in that port that we tapped. We forgot to film showing the removal, but basically what we did is we used a pick in this at a slight angle down through the oil passage and kind of used a little bit of a, you know, prying angle on it, and it popped it out enough to where we were able to get some angle cutters, like kind of like dikes, wire cutters, whatever you call them, and it give you enough leverage to pop it right out.
And that came right out.
Yeah, it was easy. You could also use a machine screw, like a self-tapping right down inside, and then like a block and a crowbar or something lightly to pry against and pop it out if you don't have a pick.
Join us next week while we assemble the bottom end of this bad boy.
Hopefully what we showed you was useful.